Okay.
Hi, today we are going to discuss about how to use the multiphoton microscope. This is the most expensive microscope in the entire state of Texas, Oklahoma, and other nearby states. Guess the cost. It's about over $1 million. And why is it so expensive? Because of the dual laser system here.
How much is it?
Over $1 million.
How much?
$1 million plus, like about 1.2. After discounts, it was like $900,000 plus. And then
the price
and then we added some extra gadgets on top of that, so again the cost went up.
And every objective lens is like a PhD student, basically.
Yeah. So that's how much is the cost. But because why did we pay so much money here? Because it can do certain functionality which no other microscope can do. For example, people here, they use these kinds of setups to immobilize a mouse and then make a tiny hole in the head so that you can actually see the brain functioning while the mouse is doing some activities like breathing, or you pinch the nerve and how does it feel to the mouse. You can map all of that live. So in that way it is designed for intravital imaging. Intravital means like you're imaging a live mouse basically. And apart from that, you can also image thick tissues. With this microscope, if your tissue is like normal unclear tissue like skin or something like that, you can go up to maybe a few hundred microns, like 200-300 microns easily. Maybe if you're lucky, you can go up to like 500-800 microns also. But if you want to go deeper than that, you will definitely need to clear the tissue. There are tissue clearing protocols. People that you treat like Michael Burton, I think he's also planning to move, but it's not finalized yet. But people like that, they do clear the tissues, and you can make it fully transparent. You can make the entire mouse transparent if you want. So with that, then you can go up to like millimeter ranges. So depending upon the application, you will need to figure out. So what kind of applications are you planning to do?
So one will be just imaging using a biopsy punch in the flank of a mouse and then injecting a hydrogel and using the hydrogel as an imaging window. So we'll just be then pipetting a dye to stain cells and looking at cell movement inside the hydrogel.
Neutrophils and
So
macrophages.
how deep are you talking about?
Like 300 micron.
Okay, that should be good. So I have a slide here which is like 20 microns only, so not much, but you can go that deep, no problem. Alright, so with regards to this microscope, I built this entire box here so that you can see the room lights on and image nicely. You don't think you'll be getting depressed in the dark room. Depending on protocol, like with regards to the operation of the microscope, there are two sets of video modules I suggest people to watch. One is the confocal microscope software, like FE3000 confocal microscope, because the software that is used here is same as that of the confocal. So if you get used to that interface, you should be able to navigate it here. Once that is done, then I tell them to watch the multiphoton video modules, which will talk about the hardware. Whatever I am going to do today, everything is in the videos. So that way it becomes very convenient for people to navigate. And after that also there is question, they can always contact Olympus or any of the microscope facility managers. They will be happy to support. In that way, I am there, and even after I leave, I am on LinkedIn, so you can contact me and I can do remote support maybe if UPD allows. So we said that we will be beginning with the microscope operation. Apart from the videos, the turning on protocol is stuck here, so you can look at that and then go step by step. There are 9 switches here for turning on a microscope. So we'll begin with here. We'll turn on this one, which is going to be the visual control switch, so that my voice comes in. So this one is the switch for turning on the light source for visualizing with eyes. This is for turning on the microscope. The switch for this guy is hidden here in the corner. And 3, 4, 7, and this guy is, the button is behind this one. Very rarely some people use the film setup, fluorescence light field imaging microscopy. So there's the computer for this guy and this one, and the keyboard and mouse for them are hidden here. But only if you need it, only then we'll teach you. Other than that, so you can place the mouse here. That's the setup on which they basically put the mouse to sleep, and then these kind of setups to keep it attached to the stage here. And they have other holders and everything like those ones, micro manipulators and things like that to keep the mouse in place.
And normally if the mice is knocked out, does everyone use this, or is this more
No.
for like cranial?
So
brain
this is for the head imaging.
Okay, yeah.
Because you attach a head bar like this and then it is stuck. So now the mouse cannot move.
And
That's for that.
Is this someone's cart, or can we rent this when we rent time with the microscope?
This is just by Chill Labs.
Okay.
Chill Labs. So here this is.
So we would bring our own ISO card?
Yeah.
If we, okay.
So whatever, so you can talk to them and then figure out what they do. And accordingly, they are okay to rent it out to you, okay?
Okay.
It's probably fine as per, like, we can ask him, but I'm sure. Like, I mean, we would have to do the card with someone else, but.
Yeah. We could bring our own like ISO model.
Okay, so login wise will be your net ID and password.
Also, Dr. Prakash, may I ask where approximately you would put the ISO card? Where's okay, so like right here.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the main thing, just the nuances of like what it'd be like to have a house.
And that's why talking to them will be very helpful because they have been doing that for years
Okay.
and they have figured actually more than me because I don't do the imaging with mouse, they do.
Okay.
So while it is turning on, get the objectives here.
Sorry. Oh, it's good.
So we have 4 objectives here, 1, 2, and 3 and 4. So this is a swing objective. It can do 5x and 40x at the same time. So this is special use objectives which only when you are trying to do electrophysiology you want to look at lower magnification and go to a higher magnification. Only then it is needed. People don't use it much, but if you need it, you need it. Other than that, we also have 2 other magnifications. This is a giant objective which is like 10x magnification. It is so thick because it has got a very wide aperture in the back end. That way maximum amount of light can pass through. And as we are saying that these are pretty expensive ones. If you drop one, then it will be costing like $20,000 to $30,000. Chin Lab broke one of these, and the old one is lying there as a paperweight. So it cannot be used anymore. So we pay 50%, they pay 50% of the money. But yeah, so for today's imaging, we'll be using the 25x magnification. Yeah, and if you drop on your leg or do something about it. Alright, so we'll be using this. The way to handle this will be like this. Hold it here. Don't turn the objective. You turn the base, so that there's less room for dropping. There are adapters like this for different magnification. This one goes for 10x, a bigger one, and a tinier one goes for this kind. When you screw, again don't turn the objective, hold the objective like this and hold it here, not here, and then slowly without cross-threading it and not touching the lens behind. If you make the lens dirty, then use ethanol, absolute ethanol to clean it up, and use lens paper which is there in the box to clean it up. Okay. Alright, so this is good. Whenever I hold, I always hold it like this because if I drop, also no problem, this will not hit it. There are different kinds of filters here like FBG, violet green. This one is
Where do you put the filters in?
I'll show you. Everything is in the videos. That's why I created those videos, or else the training will be 4 hours long. So I hope that the right filters are there in that setup, but we'll check it out. So with regards to the installation, this goes in here slowly Now there are two sides to this, as you can see. One is the thick wall side and one is the thin wall side. And this is the back. I put a label back here so that people know that it is supposed to go this way. Somebody put it this way and screwed it in, and then it bent, so it couldn't go in. So I had to rub it off and clean it, and then now it is good. So make sure that it is on the thicker side and the back side is on the back. And this slides in like this, slowly goes in, and then you screw this in with the screwdriver, which is always here. Don't tighten it too much, just enough that it works. Alright, so objective is set up. Now with regards to the software is here, acquisition software.
So before you go, so how do you move the stage up and down?
I will get there. Okay. Yeah. Because software turning on takes time, so that's why I'm turning it on.
Alright.
Yeah. Alright. And in case there's some software and hardware communication issue, we use the restart computer function. Don't directly just restart the computer, or else it will log you off from the scheduler. If in case that restart computer function doesn't work, restart the computer anyway normally, and then go back and rebook the slot, or else somebody else will book it. So we'll say okay. Alright. So now with regards to setting up the stage, there are different stage inserts, like multiple of them. This one is for holding a plate, this one is for blocking off the entire thing, and mouse can be placed on this, and this one is for slides.
Do people do some like really thick 3D like hydrogel imaging here, or mainly just in
People have done that. People
Okay.
have done that. So they usually use this plate or this one. Both are fine. So this sits in properly just like this, normal. And I will place the slide here. And because it is an upright microscope, so we have to keep the cover slip facing up if you are using a cover slip. If you are not using cover slip, then it doesn't matter. This objective is water immersion. You can use glycerol, water, pretty much any like non-corrosive solvent or some kind of a immersion medium, no problem. And there's a correction collar which you can use to adjust for any kinds of refractive index mismatches.
Where the collar is right there. Yeah. I see.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I see.
And the way to figure out where is the right sweet spot is by doing it live and checking the intensity is there. Wherever it gives the maximum intensity is the best place.
Okay.
That means the light is getting focused properly. Now, before even getting there, I forgot to tell why it is called multiphoton microscope, because the light is being focused at the same point at such a high intensity that two photons are hitting the same molecule at the same time, or within femtoseconds. So hence it can go to an excited state. That means it is very important that we form a tight focus. If there is any kind of defocusing or any kind of spherical aberration or anything like that, light will not be focused, and hence you will not be getting the two photon excitation happening. Okay. So I will now place this sample here. Okay. Now if I see here, down here is the condenser. This is for bright field imaging. For mouse, we don't care about that. You cannot have the light passing through. But if it is a thin sample like this, then we do install it. And it is currently not installed because somebody was imaging mouse. That means you have to bring the stage down. And that can only happen when this condenser is out of the place. So depending upon the need, as you can see, there's so many different things that needs to be done manually, and that's why it requires special training like this. Okay. For now, I will show you how to install this. There is a tiny screw here which goes in this notch, and when it sits properly like this, and then we tighten the second screw, not the first screw, not this guy, but the second one. Just enough. And there is a thing to adjust the iris size, and I think there is somewhere yeah, this guy has to be pulled out, okay, or else there will be no light coming out. Okay, so this is all set. Now I will start setting up the microscope here. Okay, by default it will give some random error, don't worry about this all the time. I don't know why it gives these errors. Okay. Now when you start the microscope, it will not look like this, it will look something like this, like the confocal. We always go here and then set it up to advanced version. The default storage location will be C drive. Change it to D drive, wherever you want to store. Don't directly put on the interdepartmental drive, because sometimes the drive will not show up, so you might get errors. Okay? So for today's imaging, I'll just say create a new folder with the year, month, date and name. And I will call this as kidney. Alright. Now dye selection. You don't do the dye selection here. We do the detector selection. Okay. And how will that be determined? We go to tools, configuration, and filters, R&D filters, and we decide what filter do we want. So in my case, this sample has 3 colors: DAPI, FITSI and TRITSI. So I can use this filter, green and red, or I can also use FVG, violet and green. So for today I will be using this one, so that I can show you how to image, and accordingly I will need to, just because I change the number here doesn't mean I have the right filters in there. I need to go and manually change it. Okay, so this is going to be using 485 like a dichroic, and emission will be happening in channel 1 for the green color and channel 2 for the DAPI color. Okay, so and if you are going to use 4 color imaging, then you will need to put a filter for like a splitter here for that. Accordingly, right now it is the mirror. You will need to put a like 570 splitter, so that the longer wavelengths pass through and shorter wavelengths get reflected back, or something like that, depending upon what you are setting up. Okay. I will not go into details of this right now, because if you cannot do 2 color imaging, 4 color will be more complicated. Always contact Olympus in case of any confusion. Some details are there in the video, but you can always consult with the Olympus to figure out how to manage that. Usually 2 colors is good enough for most imaging. For now I will just stick to that. We'll keep it like this and just say OK. So we need both channels, channel 1 and channel 2. There are 4 detectors here, PMTs and GASPs. So 2 are PMT and 2 are GASP. GASP detectors are twice sensitive compared to PMT, but they have a limit on how much they can handle light. So for routine imaging, PMT is good enough. Only for special applications we go to GASP. So I will go here and select channel 1 and channel 2. Okay, R&DD, reference non-distant detector, R&DD 1 and 2. This is the transmitted light path. Then say OK. Tool window, light path. That will show me the entire light path, how it is going to look like. Okay. So here there are 2 lasers, like I said. One laser is the side laser, this is the main laser, and both of them are combined together to send to the sample, and the light is detected here. The transmitted light also goes through here. Everything is exactly as what you see here.
So if one of those becomes disconnected, is this the way that you kind of connect it back, or it won't?
What?
Like if one of the lasers is not functioning, or you can see that disconnect here?
To a certain extent,
Okay.
not wholly, but yeah, you can see to a certain extent. Now currently for my today's imaging, I am not going to do any kind of stimulation. Stimulation means one laser is being used for imaging, other laser is used for stimulation or FRAP or FRET or whatever. So I will be using both the lasers combined together to be sent like this. Okay. So in that case, I have to go here, tools, configuration, laser. I am going to use main scanner. Okay. Apart from that, IR laser emission wise, both the lasers are currently on. Sometimes the lasers will be off, so you need to go and turn on whatever lasers you need, and I would suggest you to keep this box checked and keep the lasers always running, because currently the MITI laser is giving some issues. I have been calling them to fix it from past 6 months. They have been giving drama. I called them 4 times but no response. So we always keep the lasers on. Now,
So,
yeah.
do we need time for the lasers to stabilize?
No, not much. Yeah. It takes about a minute or 2 and then it will turn on. Yeah. These are solid state lasers, pretty fast. Okay, so I will show you later on how to turn on the MITI laser if it gets stuck, because what is happening is MITI laser turns on. It is supposed to mode lock at 800 nanometer. It mode locks, but the electronics in there doesn't know that it has mode lock. Mode lock means it's like the wavelength is no longer changing. But the software of that laser doesn't know that, so it doesn't tell the Olympus software that it is mode lock, and it keeps saying that emission is changing, even though it is not changing. So we have told the guys to fix it. They came here to fix it twice. Both times they did some manipulation and it was fixed, and again it reverted back to the same problem. So currently the stage is like this, that MITI laser, it can...
That's only for the MITI.
Yeah, inside is good, inside is functional. And actually if you see, laser emission wise, inside laser can go from 690 till 1300, which is the main laser. MITI can go from 690 till 1040. So this actually covers all the range for you. But this one is pretty powerful. Like at 720 nanometer it is giving me about 2 watt, and at this one if I put at 720, let's see how much power it gives. This will be about 1 watt, half a watt, something like that. So this one is far more powerful than this guy. So this is good for photo stimulation, only in specific ranges. Currently it can emit from 690 till 780, 850 till 1050.
When you say stimulation, what that means?
Stimulation is you have a sample, you are imaging, but you also want to blast it with certain wavelength of light for some functionality. Like for example, you have a dye which is caged or like which is photoactive at a particular wavelength, and you shine a bright amount of laser, you release the drug, for example, and then using the second one you start imaging and see how the rest of the cells are behaving. Okay, you send a trigger and then you see the release, that kind of a thing, photostimulation.
So can I use one laser to do that?
You can, but you saw that to change the wavelength it takes a little while,
Yeah.
about a few seconds, and that seconds delay is too long for some experiments. That's why we have the 2 colors simultaneously. Okay? So being said that,
Most likely you had to use 2 different wavelengths.
correct. So that's why we need 2 lasers, and sometimes you are trying to image 2, 3 colors, 4 colors simultaneously. Using one laser you can at max excite 2 colors simultaneously. Third dye becomes a little challenging.
But that would be similar to imaging 2 different stationary dyes. Right?
2 different?
So you talk about, like, say, gravity low rate, your things moving around.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you can, using 2 wavelengths of laser, you can monitor 2 emission.
Correct. Yeah. So those kinds of special applications require more and more complexity, and that's why we have to.
Does someone here do fret or one of
Fret on 2 photon I have not seen anybody. But like drug release and all of that,
drug release? Okay.
they do that. Blood-brain barrier and all of that, they do. Okay, so now all of this is good, at least this part. Now you see that the laser is not coming out yet because I have to select that here. Okay? So for my sample, it has got 2 dyes. One is the GFP kind of a dye, and DAPI. DAPI excitation will be like 400 nanometer. So half of that will be 800. But we just figure out that this laser doesn't work really well at 800. So maybe we'll be using this for a little longer wavelength. For the let's see, yeah, this can kind of work there. So let me put it like 980. Let's see how much power it gives there. And this one I'll put at say suppose 800. Okay. Now currently this is going to give this one is going to give me 800 because I selected that one, and this one is going to give me 980. So I want a mirror which just reflects this wavelength and allows this wavelength to pass through. So I need something which can reflect 980. So here there are multiple options. I can choose any of these. So I will need something which can reflect 980 but pass 800. None of the
We're doing DAPI and then GFP.
correct. Yeah. So unfortunately none of that option is there, so we cannot use that combination. So we have to then stick with something shorter. So what I will do is I will maybe use this guy, and I will use this laser at 750 or 760. Still it should work.
Okay. So for those mirrors, you have a bunch of mirrors there.
Yeah,
Are the
multiple.
mirrors directional?
Huh? Yeah.
Okay, so if you reflect, you will reflect this way, not the
Yeah.
other way around.
It reflects only this way.
Okay. So how about the light goes this way?
It has to be outside of this range. So anything outside of this is good. So I will be using maybe like 980. Okay. So 980 from here and 800 like 760 from here.
So let's say just what is CDM? So that's the range of reflected light.
Correct. Correct.
So reflect go where?
Reflect goes up. So laser comes from here,
Okay.
goes here, reflects. So I put here something which is within this range.
Will be
So-
reflected.
Correct. So I put here right now 760. 760 is within
And then you have a light from this
bottom,
one.
this one,
Yeah.
which will be longer.
Then that will be on the other side of the mirror.
Yeah, so it will just pass through, no problem.
That's my asking.
Ah.
So you have beam go this way and this way, right?
Correct.
So they work in the same way. So reflect the short wavelength there, I mean the water rate there,
Ah.
and let the long wavelength go through. So if you like go this way,
Ah.
you're doing the same thing.
No.
That's what you're telling me.
No. That way it is not. That way is different.
Okay, so then you get a mirror there. You have beam going this way and this way.
Correct.
So how do we know which one is working? Which beam is going to work on?
So if you are putting a, like say suppose 760 from here,
Right.
it will still pass through, but it will not be very clean and nice.
So as if nothing there.
It will see some things. It might
Right.
interfere with some random things. We don't even know what it will interfere with. So I would rather keep it outside of this range.
All right, we'll talk about that.
Okay, so I set this up. Now we want, so this guy is going to, now we go to the NDD, non-design detector, this area. Okay, so the light comes here and goes into these two detectors right now, because these are the ones which we selected, 1 and 2. This one is going to be my fluorescein, 495 till 540, green color. This one is going to be my tapping. Okay, so DD1 is going to be my FITC. Fine, 495 till 540. So RNDD1, which is this guy, I will be choosing accordingly the laser color which is needed. So I will choose 980. This guy needs 760, so I will choose 760 here. Now you see all of them are combined together.
Can you save this configuration? Like once we've set it up for our specific mouse model, can we save this and then when we walk in and it's like this or no?
You can, but like you can just open the image and then import the settings, but sometimes it doesn't like it.
Okay.
So then,
Just to make sure that there's
Yeah.
no differences between experiments or something.
Yeah. So best thing will be to go to this window, take a screenshot.
And then just make sure it's set every time.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And for the second laser, how far from 800 should we be? Like 20 or 40 nanometers?
So 780 till 850 is the range in which it is not working currently.
Okay, 750 to 8.
780 till 850.
780 to 850. Okay.
That's the range in which currently it is not working. It should get fixed, but I've been having a hard time calling these guys. But ideally it should work in all the ranges. Okay, so now all of this is set up. Laser is coming. There is nothing in here, going in here. Everything is nice and good. Now I will go here and check what filter I have here. Okay. So these are thumb screws. They should ideally be loose enough that you can open with hand. If somebody tightens it too much, we have pliers in the box there. Nobody's such a strong bodybuilder here, so it's fine. Okay, so you see the filter here is FGR currently. So I will need to go and get the other filter. Okay, so I will be back in a minute. So this is the filter that I will be using. This is the filter FVG. The way to hold it will be like this from the back side. There's a screw here, that's in the video again. You unscrew this little bit, remove this, comes out, put it in here. Don't touch the surface. If you at all touch, then again use ethanol and the tissue paper to clean it. Not the Kim wipe, but the lens cleaning tissue. Goes in here slowly. Slides in, screw this in. Okay, and there is a slider here. So if you slide this in, then this will send light up here. So this is where you can place other dichroids or mirrors or whatever, so that you can send the light to the gas detectors. PMTs are located down here. Okay, so for now I'll push it in.
Filters have like cutoff wavelengths on them.
Huh?
Can you see the cutoff wavelengths like on the filter?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
And if not, you can watch in the videos is there.
Okay.
Yeah. And if you don't close this box, it will not work because it's all interlocked. It looks for whether this box is unlocked or not, then it will not send the laser out. So that way you don't have the chance of laser shining in your eyes. But if you really want to shine the laser light, then you can put some reflective material here and then put that on your eyes. So this is done. Now we will be setting up the objective so that it can come down here. Now depending upon what sample you are placing, you will need to move the stage up and down. If you are trying to image a mouse, the stage will go the lowest. If
So you have to remove that bright field.
Yeah, you will have to also remove that thing first before this stage hits that. Sometimes people have done that.
We
No.
won't do that.
Thank you. Yeah. So for the slide, I will need to move it to the highest point because this working distance may not be sufficient for it to come on the way down. The way to do that will be, we have 4 screws here. This needs to be unscrewed. We lift the stage up. It's a pneumatic stage, so it will help you a little bit to move up, but some muscular force is required. Okay. So I unscrew 3 sides, and then the 4th side, while holding this, I will unscrew so that it doesn't fall. Okay. And now we lift it up, and you see the entire stage is moving, which is good. One side is screwed, then I am good. I can leave it. Okay.
So you just leave it up.
Yeah.
There's no
Just
air
a list
switch,
of what
whatever.
No.
And then when you move down, you just press down.
Yeah, yeah.
Depends on myself.
And then we move the stage to the objective area or sample area. Then we start bringing this down.
And have you typically seen, like, if that slide was a mouse, would the objective also be almost touching it, basically?
Huh?
If the slide was a mouse there, would the objective be almost touching it?
It can be. So that's why you have to adjust the height
Okay, okay.
depending upon how, are you imaging a mouse or your rat or yourself.
You said it was it could be immersion if you needed it,
Huh?
or
Yeah.
immersion.
Yeah, I will be doing immersion actually right now. So
So like,
I'm just bringing it here.
we still have to have
I usually keep some water here, just simple DI water or.
So there's the water, and then is there 100% ethanol just for, or should we just bring our own for?
Yeah, like it is kept there like this cleaning solution sparkle is exactly right. So we'll put a few drops of water here. Both 10x and 2x of 25x magnifications are immersion objectives. The working distance of this guy is 2 millimeters, the other guy is 8 millimeters. So that one requires really deep wells so that you can really immerse some things in there. Okay, and I keep bringing the thing down here, and there you go. I touch it and then bring it up a little bit. So now I'm going to go to the ocular mode here, and ocular,
Just the missing with the iPhone. This is just a tiny little bit zoomed on.
and I will be using the
So it has
epi
to be
mode,
almost touching the
and I will be using, say suppose GFP is fine, and the light should ideally be coming out, and you see the blue light coming out there. Okay. And the sample looks fine there. It's in focus. So if you want to have a look, you can have a look. This slide is right there, and this is all adjustable. So you can change the height depending upon the needs. And if it is not in focus, maybe your eye power is different. Okay.
What are those patches? That's just to get the middle of the.
Uh,
Oh, it's on the side. Okay.
This is just a standard slide. I linked it where it's what. Okay, so this is good. Now I will go here and go to LSM imaging, and now we close this door. We have extra curtain like here, so that in case you have a lot of accessories, you can
So
still.
do you normally look through the eyepieces and then go here, or do you just drive here
Always focus with the eyes first,
and then drive
because this is a confocal microscope. That means if it is not in focus, you will not see anything.
anything?
So it's very important that we focus here first, as much as possible. And of course, there are some samples which have no labels, so like SHG second harmonic generation. Then yeah, the way to lock this is to just push this in and then place it here and place. Alright. Cool. So now we'll go to live mode here, and we'll do live cross 4. Okay, I just forgot to select a laser here. Yeah, so the TD is a detector which is very sensitive only to the visible kind of light. So you will need to select the lower wavelength and make sure that you use that. Alright. So now let's do live cross 4. And one more thing which I forgot to do was to make it sequential scan, because there are DAPI does overlap with the PIXI, so we want the sequential scan. So what it means is, when this guy is on, only imaging is being done here. When this guy is on, only imaging is being done here. So not both simultaneously. If I go to high-low mode, what it will do is, just like on the confocal, it will highlight all the pixels which are 0 as blue and maxed out as red. In this case, we don't see any of these pixels, which means there is constant background of 150 units. So we will need to change the offset to get to that stage.
When would you say one more time how again we know that it's not simultaneous right now?
Because it is done sequentially.
Oh yeah, the groups. Okay.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is my 0 now. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is my 0. So these two are done. transmitted light, I don't care. Okay.
And when you do time-lapse imaging, it just goes through that, like, or if you take,
So time lapse will be, you can set up here and then you can keep repeating the imaging again
to
and
just
again.
go through.
So I will now start increasing the laser power. And I can see the sample here, but most likely it is not in focus. Let's see. Oh yeah, there is the focus. That's the green color. So there you go. I have the two colors here. One is the DAPI, one is the FITSI, showing up here together. Now, the reason I image it in the high-low mode is because I can see if there is any pixel which is saturated or not. In this image there is no saturation, so now the image looks nice. But if I were not imaging in the high-low mode and if I just ramped up the laser, I won't even know if this is saturated or not. But if I go to high-low mode, you will see a lot of saturated pixels, which is not good for quantification. Okay. So at a pretty low laser power, I am able to get some good images. Don't compare this to confocal, because in confocal you are not doing 2-photon excitation. So it's okay to go to like 20%, 30% of laser power also. Alright. So the rest of the imaging is very routine, the same thing that you define the area, and if you want to take a Z-stack, go take a Z-stack and then acquire the image.
And so how far can you go on the Z-stack, like 300 microns? You said
The microscope has the capacity to go like 20 millimeters, but, yeah, 20 millimeters roughly, but depending upon the sample, how thick it is, how much scattering you have, all of that will determine whether you'll be able to go as deep as you want.
If you sacrifice resolution, how large of an image could you get? Like how much of a mouse could you see?
So depends on the magnification. So currently it is imaging like, let me see, property. So currently it is imaging like 0.5 millimeter by 0.5 millimeter.
Okay.
This is at 25x. So 10x will be 2.5 times of this one. 5x will be even bigger area. So it depends on what you're trying to image.
Okay, okay.
And all of these things can be like, say suppose I am imaging this one and I want to have a stitched image of a big area.
Yeah.
You can do that also.
Oh, really? Okay.
So there is a function called maps, and then you can draw different area sizes and then let it capture multiple images, and then you can stitch all of them together into one image.
And then can you also continue doing that like with the time sequence?
Yeah, you can do that, but
So a lot of big stitch.
yeah, but imagine each stitching will be taking, say suppose, a minute or 2 minutes. Then accordingly your time lapse will be slower.
Yeah, that's fine.
And also there's a chance that the sample might go out of focus.
Oh, yeah.
Right? The things get heated up, cooled down, temperature fluctuations, movements. So it's usually not suggested. You do in the same place again and again, and then hope that everything stays in the same focus.
Okay.
Right? And the same microscope can also be used for doing live imaging. Like I have modified the incubator which is sitting there to do live imaging also. So you can place cells inside a cell culture dish and then image it for live, for long. Alright, so with regards to acquisition, I will just do a Z-stack real quick. I'll go here live, go to different planes, I'll turn the Z on. This is the bottommost plane. Register my origin, register 0, go to top, somewhere here. I will be imaging a smaller area because this is too large. So maybe I will say suppose 5x zoom so that I can see things more detailed way. This looks nice, and I will just acquire. Oh, one more thing. I didn't fix this one. So this is a bright field image. And now I can go here and So 15 images, 1 micron step size, and like correct. Any other question for me?
And then this is, how do you, so this is saved here and then you use an external hard drive to
Okay.
transfer?
So all of those again are in the videos, but we'll talk about that. You have this PC and interdepartmental drive, so you just drag and drop there. Data transfer speed is like 100 megabytes per second, so faster than the USB.
Don't forget, remove it.
Yeah.
So,
Or else you can
yeah, somebody here used this already.
email that, hey, please can you clean it up?
Yeah.
And yeah, and there are 2 storage spaces here. One is the 2 terabyte hard disk, another is solid state disk. So if you are going to do like a rapid imaging, then or stitching kind of a thing, then solid state disk helps because you are having 2x data transfer speed. But for routine imaging, 2 terabyte hard disk storage is good enough.
Okay, that's E is SSD.
Yeah, you can see
Okay.
that.